Again, thanks for joining us. And I'm here. My name is Suri Deitch, and I'm Dean of the School of Professional Advancement. And I'm here with my colleague, Sheila Gold, who's going to be doing part of the presentation, and Ann Conlon, who's running the slides behind the scenes. The first thing I wanted to ask actually is, well, if you can turn your camera on, that's great, but we completely understand if you can't. But if you could put your name and where you're calling in from and the program you're interested in the chat box at the bottom of the screen, that would be great. Just so we have a little bit of a sense of where you are and what you're interested in. If you wouldn't mind going ahead and doing that. We certainly hope that those of you who are in the Gulf South region are doing okay. New Orleans is overall in really good shape, and Tulane is very much at work and educating folks and all of our regular activities. But at the same time, we have neighbors and friends and students and faculty who are in some cases in difficult situations because of Hurricane Ida. So again, I hope that all of you are okay. Great, welcome Mike in Virginia. And if others can go ahead and put their information in the chat, that would be great too. This is a general webinar about our graduate programs, degrees, and certificates. We have program-specific webinars as well, where you can get more into depth with the advisors and faculty in specific programs about the curriculum and careers and things like that. This is more about the school overall and our admissions process. So just to start out with a little bit of an overview about SoPA. The School of Professional Advancement is the 21st century iteration of a long-term commitment at Tulane to educating working adults and offering academic programs that are relevant to the workplace. And we're so excited that we get to build on that history, but again, do it in a 21st century way with, in particular, a really exciting creative approach to online education. So just to say, maybe like the participants in this webinar, our graduate students are about half in the Gulf South region and then half around the United States, with some overseas as well. So as you can see from the slide, there's a long history going all the way back to the 1880s. These are the areas that we're going to cover during this webinar. So we're going to talk about online education, which is a big focus of our graduate programs in particular. We'll touch on our individual programs and the faculty who teach within them, talk about student support, which is a big focus of ours. And then, of course, talk about important things like tuition and financial aid, and how all of it is backed up by the name and reputation of Tulane University. So again, if you're able to put your name and where you're calling in from and which program you're interested in the chat, it's really helpful to see that. So welcome to those of you who are in New Orleans, those of you who are in nearby, including Natchez, and a little bit further afield. So first of all, just to talk about online, in the next slide, we have a model of online education that is really well suited to working adults and also very high quality and interactive. So much of the work in our online courses and programs is done sort of on your own schedule when you have time for it. But we also have a lot of different ways of building community and creating interactions between and among students and the faculty. So for example, one of the things we do in our courses is have what's called synchronous meetings, like what we're doing right now, except everyone has their cameras on and is talking once a month and sometimes twice a month. So you might have a discussion about readings, or you might have a guest speaker, for example. You might be working on a group project, or you might just be in a group of students who've organized themselves to be able to go over lecture and reading materials and absorb them better. There's always something interactive going on every single week, even if you're not all meeting together at the same time. It might be a discussion board. It might be reviewing one another's, like a draft project, for example, and getting comments from peers. And all of it is integrated into this online learning system and a lot of different ways of sharing material. So you have books for your courses, but you'll have articles and videos, and sometimes even simulations and special situations that have been set up just for that course or for that program. For example, in our IT and cybersecurity master's degree programs, we created a fake company that's is based in New Orleans and sells branded yoga mats. And all of the courses integrate that case study, and there are videos and exercises associated with it, and it gives you a way of applying your learning and putting everything into a single context. In the next slide, we give a little bit of data that describes some of the ways in which we measure our expertise in the area of online learning. So numbers of students, the numbers of hours they've spent learning online, or numbers of programs, faculty who are trained, and the fact that one of the ways we know that our programs are excellent is through recognition from external bodies that have ranked them highly. So that's online. The next slide gives you a little bit of a sense of our faculty. So we have a mix of full-time faculty and part-time faculty. Some of the full-time faculty have spent their entire careers in academia. More typically, people transition from careers in the field. So for example, Tyra Mitchell was the head of physical therapy at the Ochsner Hospital Network in Louisiana. Ralph Russo, who runs our information technology programs, was a cybersecurity expert in private industry, but also a high-ranking official in the New York City Police Department. And then on the left side of the screen, there are just two examples of faculty who are teaching for us, but working full-time in their fields. We have about 40 full-time faculty in the school and about 200 part-time faculty. And all of them do this work because they love to teach adult students. They love to share what they know. And they are knowledgeable in their fields, but also expert at how to share that knowledge and help students to build their own knowledge base and networks. The next slide has just a list of our master's degrees. So these are obviously in many different fields. There are different kinds of degrees. There is the Master of Science degree in some fields, Master of Professional Studies, Master of Liberal Arts, which is a special and unique program in the humanities that's geared toward working adults, and the Master of Public Administration. And then associated with those master's degrees are certificate programs at the graduate level on the next slide. So these are all certificate programs, with one exception. They're all 4 courses, and they are what's called stackable, which means that the admission standards are the same for the graduate certificates as they are for the full master's degree, but they are a subset of knowledge. So you may have a very particular need to study event security, for example, or economic development. But if you decide while you're in that certificate program that you want to do the full master's degree, in the case of event security, in sports studies, or in homeland security, in the case of economic development, in the Master of Public Administration, it's a totally seamless process to move over to the full master's degree. The one exception to each of these certificate programs being 4 courses and being stackable into the master's degree is cyber technology fundamentals, which is actually 6 courses and is geared toward people who want to go into information technology or cybersecurity management and don't have the technical background. So it's graduate coursework that will give you technology fundamentals at the graduate level so that you can move into that field. So these are all of our graduate certificates. And then on the next slide, there's a list of what are called post-baccalaureate certificate programs. So these are programs that require you to have a bachelor's degree for admission, but they're in areas where you don't need a graduate degree in order to be qualified to do the work. So teacher education, graphic design, legal studies, fields like that. So like I said at the very beginning, we have webinars about each of these areas of study where you can get a lot more detail about the curriculum and the program and careers. In the meantime, though, you should feel free to put questions into the chat at the bottom of the screen. And we'll either answer them during this webinar or we'll follow up. And then, like I said at the very beginning, if you haven't gone ahead and put your name and your location and the program you're interested in into the chat at the bottom of the screen again, please go ahead and do so, just so we have a sense of your specific interests. All right, the next slide talks about an area that we're really proud of because it gives adults who have expertise and experience in specific fields a way to get advanced standing or earn credit for that experience toward the master's degree. We have various kinds of arrangements like this, some with specific organizations like the Marine Corps College or the National League of Cities, where you can, if you have been through a particular training or are a member of the organization and do a particular kind of work, you can earn credit toward the master's degree. But we also have credit for prior learning. Excuse me. So in this instance, our faculty work with you to document your experience, match it up to the learning objectives of specific coursework in the master's degree, and document it in a portfolio, which is then actually graded by faculty. And you can get up to 6 credits toward the master's degree for this work. The next slide talks about the ways in which we support students so that you can be academically and professionally successful. Every single graduate student is assigned a highly seasoned academic advisor who will work with you to plot out your plan for taking courses. We strongly suggest that graduate students take 2 courses at a time, but sometimes people take 1, sometimes people take 3 or even 4, depending on whether or not they have other things going on in their lives and what their time frame is for completing the program, your advisor can help you figure out the best approach for you that'll keep you on track, but also help you to balance all of your obligations. And if a challenge comes up, which sometimes things do, like hurricanes, for example, your advisor is a tremendous resource for helping you to find other resources, like emergency funds as one example. That's something students have been tapping into a lot in the past couple of weeks at SoPA and at Tulane. Other kinds of resources, and making tough decisions about how to stay on track with school. Sometimes students have to take a break in the middle of a program and come back later. Your advisor is, as we say, your academic best friend in that process. We also have career advisement. So we have a dedicated career advisor who is expert at working with adults who have work histories and need to be able to tell their career stories in effective ways in order to advance or move into a new field. Of course, there is our faculty who are so connected to industry as well, who bring their personal networks and professional connections to bear and help students get internships and jobs. And then, of course, the fact that you become a permanent member of the Tulane University community. And so you have access to networks and resources for the rest of your life in that sense. And that can be a big career boost as well. So with that, I will hand things over to my colleague, Sheila Gold. And again, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Suri. And let me just reiterate, welcome to everybody. And we really appreciate you all taking time out of the middle of your day to hear about our programs. We love our programs, so it's fun for us to talk about them, but it's also more fun when you have an audience to hear about them. I just want to tap back one thing about student support, because I think Suri was being a little humble, and that's okay. So we just obviously just had the hurricane, and really just a little peek behind the curtain. All of the conversations, as soon as the hurricane sort of like settled, all of the conversations from the student support perspective were, what can we get for the students? How can we support them? How can we make sure that they have access to Wi-Fi and computers? Is there a building where they can come? How can we reach out to make sure that they're okay? And the reason that I share that is not to toot our own horn necessarily, but to let prospective students know that really all the work that we do here at SoPA is very student-centered. And to me, that's a differentiator between us and other schools. And so we have kind of a real-time example about the fact that students are at the center of the decisions that we make each day. And I feel like that's important to share as you all are thinking about what school to go to. So another thing that I think obviously is highly important is price and tuition. SoPA is intentionally priced different, and by different, I mean lower, tuition-wise than the rest of the other schools at Tulane. We're one of the lowest graduate programs, and we are very competitive with our brother and sister institutions in the city of New Orleans and also nationally. Our tuition price point per credit hour is $1,119. Our classes are 3 credits per class. So our tuition point is a little over $33,000 or $3,300 per credit. It's important for students to know we have very nominal fees on top of that. We do not pile on a series of fees on top of our tuition rate. So what you pay, the vast majority of what you pay is just your tuition. And that's important when comparing schools. There's lots of schools out there where when you sort of look at tuition and fees together, it can almost double what you pay per semester. And that is not the case at SoPA. So I'd like to be very clear about that. Even with that said, most of our students do apply for some sort of financial aid. So we do require the FAFSA be filled out for federal financial aid funds. The FAFSA can be a multi-step process. There's lots of information that you need to provide when filling out the FAFSA form. So I always tell students not to wait to fill out the FAFSA. Start chipping away at the information needed for the FAFSA while you're applying for admission. That way you'll get your financial aid package early enough that you can make an informed decision about returning to school and see what funds you'll be offered. The types of funds that we do offer to students are federal grants and loans. We're very proudly a yellow ribbon school. We're a veteran-friendly school and military-friendly school. We have several 20% tuition discounts that we offer to students on top of our lower tuition rate. We offer 20% discounts for military and veterans, active and retired public safety personnel, as well as graduates from minority serving institutions. So if you received your bachelor's degree or your bachelor's degree from an HBCU or a Hispanic serving institution, we also offer a 20% discount. Also, 2 slides before this, Surrey mentioned our credit for prior learning program. I include that as a discount as well. If you do qualify to sort of waive having to attend up to 2 classes, 6 credit hours, that is a savings of money and also of time. There are some ways that you're going to have to demonstrate your knowledge in those courses. So there will be some work that you have to do, but it will save you having to take up to 2 classes. So I like to factor that in. That could be over $6,000 worth of savings. So our application process is intentionally transparent and easy, but there are always questions that come up. I encourage all prospective students to reach out if you have questions. Don't feel like it's a test. We're not trying to test you in the application process. And we like to hear from students. We sort of philosophically feel like getting to know students is part of the application process, and it's the beginning of our relationship building with our students. Our application is an online application. It lives on our website. So the address for our website is at the bottom of this slide, sopa.tulane.edu. You'll see a big button at the top that says apply. You click that and you will enter into the application portal. We do have a $50 application fee for our graduate programs, but we've actually captured your attendance at this webinar. And as a thank you for attending today, that fee should be automatically waived. If for some reason it's not, once again, email me and I am happy to waive the fee. It's very easy to do, so don't be shy or feel like you're embarrassed to ask. We want to waive that for you. If you've already applied and paid the fee, you can reach out to me and I can refund the fee. We are going to ask you to upload an image of a current government ID. For most of you, that's your driver's license. You can simply take a picture with your phone and upload the image. We will ask for transcripts from any school that you've received academic credits. We prefer that you send those transcripts electronically, although if you do have to send them by US mail, that's okay too. We like to let students know that we do not require the GRE for admission to our graduate programs. So generally that's very welcome news to most students. And you may need to also upload a resume and some short answers or some written statements, depending on the program that you're applying to. So some application deadlines. We have starts every semester, fall, spring, and summer. We are currently accepting applications for our spring term. Spring term starts in January. Our application deadline is January 1, but the application is open now. We encourage students to apply early. There is no need to wait until the application deadline. You could go ahead and get your application in now, and we will read your application on a rolling basis, which means that when your application is complete, we will review it, read it, and offer you an admissions decision. As an incentive to go ahead and apply early, we do have early enrollment scholarships. And that means that if you are accepted and register for classes by an early deadline, you automatically receive $500 towards your first semester of tuition. So there's no reason not to go ahead and do that. So January 1 is our spring deadline for admission, but the early enrollment scholarship is December 1. So if you register for classes by then, you'll get $500. For summer, our application deadline is May 1, but please apply early. That application's open now. And if you register for classes by April 25th, you will receive $500 for your first semester. And if you're thinking ahead to next fall, August 1 is our deadline, but apply early and register by June 1, and you'll receive $500 towards your first semester of tuition. So my contact information is on the screen. You can take a screenshot or also find it on our website if you have questions, but we're available to answer questions now. So if you'd like to put those in the chat or to take yourself off of mute, we'd be happy to answer any of this.
Great. And you'll also receive a follow-up email from Sheila later today or tomorrow with a link to this session, which, as you can see, we've been recording, and again, her contact information. So wait a minute more to see if folks have questions.
Hey guys, this is Mike Byrne from sunny Quantico, Virginia. I have a question on, like, is there a VA rep you can connect me with at the school so I could also talk to?
Absolutely. Great. So we, like Sheila said, we are very much a veteran-friendly school. We actually have peer liaisons who, both at the graduate and undergraduate level, who will work with you to help you navigate the process of getting enrolled and sort of getting through school. We have as well a chapter of Student Veterans of America. We're actually a couple weeks away from making the official announcement of that chapter. And then, of course, the official representative at the university. Actually, if it's okay with you, Mike, we'll go ahead and follow up and connect you to those veteran resources. We would love to do that. And just to say, about 20% of our graduate students are veterans or active duty. So helping people transition from the military into the civilian workforce is a major focus of our school. So welcome in advance.
That'd be great. Thanks. I appreciate it.
And then I see a question about educational credentials toward becoming an online adjunct professor at a community college. So that's a great question. It depends on the community college. Most community colleges require a master's degree in the relevant field of instruction. So really, any of our areas of study could potentially qualify you to teach at the community college level, depending on the institution. There also are community colleges that where the majority of people who teach there have PhDs, for example, but at most a master's degree in the relevant field will qualify you. Any other questions that people have? Well, it's been really nice to learn who you are and where you are and what you're interested in. And we very much look forward to following up with you and getting to know you, like Sheila said, during the admissions process. So we will be in touch very soon. Thanks again for your time, and we hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye, everyone.